Hey guys, so I'm kind of playing around with this little piece here and trying to get some paneling going and stuff like that and see how it would look if I baked from a high poly to a low poly. That was pretty janky, but anyways, so the idea of this video, what we're going to be doing is show you how I come up with these little panels here. Could be quite useful if you're so let's go ahead and get started. Uh, the plane, I'm going to quickly edit mode, subdivide it, or in object mode, subdivide it real quick. Little high poly here. Kind of do some stuff like this. You know what? Let's do two loop cuts in there and then pull that one in. We got some stuff like this going on. Want to do quick K, C, cut like that. Basically, it's an inset. Did yes, it is. Symmetry line, mirror. Got something like that. And let's say we wanted to just take it a step further. Some paneling. Shade it smooth real quick. Let's tighten up a few edges. So that really should go through. So let's say you got something crazy like this going on. You do like a level 1 subdivision on it. Keep going into it and working on it if you wanted to. But panels don't really require a lot of subdivision. It's really about selecting the topology you really want and working it as a new object. So you separate it, Shift D, duplicate it, P separate selection, all that fun stuff. For machine tools, you use Smart Face feature and it pops out like so. Alt E it, extrude faces along normals. Grab the loop it creates around the edge. You can inset and hit O and do an outset. Something like this. Subdivide this, this is what you're going to get. It might float a little bit, but generally speaking, these are going to be treated as floaters when you're baking. So, but the biggest issue is that as you do this, you'll find is that you might separate something, just extrude it out, that whole process again. You'll notice that when it subdivides, well, the corners kind of they eat inwards basically, like they're smoothed here, right? And maybe you don't want that. So the way you go about fixing this is a lot easier thing. So I already showed the first step of this, and that is to just inset loop around it, or outset it, should I say. You press inset and then hit O and you do an outset. It gives you this topology here in this corner. So then you bevel this. Mouse wheel up once. You have 3 verts here, merge them. Dissolve that, Control X. That's a, you can do the backside if you wanted to. Usually I delete the backsides of things. That's going to be a good holding corner there for that. Same can be done over here, right? So you could do here, bam, just like that. Going to hold a little bit more in place. Now, helps to leave the backside, do it as well. The reason why is because when you select this, if you switch to normal, right? So I'm going to put on the move tool here. You'll notice something. Well, it almost always has the normal facing out, kind of in a useful direction, right? Alt Q, you can select the other side. You can kind of tighten these things up again if you needed to. That's going to be for every edge if you needed to do this, right? You'll see that actually using the move tool here is preferable because sometimes the normal axis changes, and so you'd be constantly trying to figure out which one you got to use. But it does work, so that's the point of this whole video, which kind of give you the tip here. Just merge them at center. Give you that other type of holding corner that if you've seen my other videos, you know I say there's 2 types of holding corners. Ones that are made of quads, but this one actually has a diamond in it. Kind of a rarity, not rarity, kind of common when you start using them, but it doesn't create like good edge flow, perhaps. It's a redirect, more or less it redirects the topology. So this doesn't line up with any of those other ways of holding corners technically. Truthfully, it could. A it's three, so it creates the end pole at the middle. End poles with a single vert with three edges coming out of it. Now, whereas let's see, just gonna go over this again. If you guys didn't see the other video, a lot of times you see a modeling video. Someone does something like this. Just start blasting it with loop cuts, right? Hold this corner here. And sometimes this works, certain situations, but it's actually not really what you want. This is going to be the other type of holding corner that you're looking for. But basically, this whole section here goes back. This whole section here goes back. This is what you want. So it's 4 quads instead of 3. Okay. That's going to subdivide something like this. The problem is this end pole, or excuse me, E pole, the pole or vert with 5 or more edges coming out. It tends to shift if you have a bunch of empty space behind it. You might need additional holding edges to kind of keep it in place. But all in all, you should be able to do all your panels like that at least. See, it hold much better than this up here, right? That in pretty much every corner you need to do it. It can be a little bit distracting having everything on, turn subdivision. Edit mode. Dissolve it. Boom. There you go. Now you have a better topology there to work with. We'll do one more for the heck of it, and we'll just a heads up on the channel. I'm going to be doing a little bit less videos for a bit. I focus on doing some portfolio pieces and come up with some stuff for my kit. All the stuff I got to work on myself. But one more. It's like fishing. I keep doing one more cast, right? Yeah, so this will bake as a floater. I'm not going to stop doing videos either. Channel is just going to be slowed down a little bit for a little while. All is said and done. Also, if you wanted to, you can do bevels. Right? You can bevel that middle loop, Alt S it, push it in. See here though, we got a little bit of a problem here. We actually need to inset and hold control. Needs the holding edge on the sides. To hold that sharp anyway, so a little bit sharper. So one last side note is that I've always said that you need 3 edges usually to hold a sharp edge. That's true for the most part. Side note though, if you wanted to, hard to do it on, but wanted it to stay a little bit softer, you problem is it bows out this section here, but kind of does that number. May not be what you're looking for. Can get away with 2 sometimes, and this is something you'll see a lot of artists that do more cartoony, stylized, animated Pixar type stuff. They'll do this a lot because it does actually create like this inflated look a little bit. So that works well for certain situations. Things to be more like just bubblier or rounder, more likable, perhaps. Not so sharp and abrasive. Something you can try, play around with those ideas. But at least this way now you can play around with this and see where it takes you. Kind of back to the other one there, just cap. See, model was not perfect by any means, but it panels were done exactly the same way for the most. Probably even worse in some ways. Get the idea? That ends up looking on this really. This was a decimated version of the base here. It's really bad. Topology. It has baking errors all over. Still, the idea stands that you can get away with some pretty crazy stuff if you really needed to. Uh, Not too bad. The only place that really kind of horrible is, and this is auto unwrap too. This is, I don't have purposefully placed seams button. This quick janky test. Handling would look like on the bake slash what a decimation crappy mesh would uh, doing as well. Actually, it's not too bad. It was a little bit better than I thought it would have been. Expecting some errors, but I think you could probably solve those. Like decent UV, probably. So, anyways, that's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Check you out in the next one. All right, take care.